Have you ever had a that that you had you 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 could you do you want you could do so you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Have you ever wondered where you fit in the world, what you're good at, or what your passion is? Because I have too. If you haven't, maybe it's time to. As we grow up, we're conditioned to make ourselves the priority and take care of ourselves, but often not in a way that actually helps us have a fulfilled life. It reminds me of the Prince of Egypt and the song Through Heaven's Eyes. You don't need to be religious to see the value in what this character is saying.
A single thread in a tapestry, though its color brightly shine, can never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. No light can escape being blown about by the winds of change and chance. And though you'll never know all the steps, you must learn to join the dance.
It's about learning that not everyone will have the same path in life and how interconnected our choices actually are, especially when it comes to our interests. But in order to find those things, you have to overcome fear or beliefs that it can't happen for you, or whatever other excuse, although valid, is barring you from something great that would actually make you happy permanently and have that be your new normal within reason. It's not that you'd never have hard times or difficult situations, but it would be less than before. That's why I made the alien video first. It's usually most people's starting point. But the idea that love is the key to happiness is true. Think about it. The more we love ourselves and each other unconditionally, or to the best of our ability, the craziest things can happen. It's like Martin Luther King Jr. said.
One of the great problems of history is that the concepts of love and power have usually been contrasted as opposites, polar opposites. So that love is identified with a resignation of power, and power with a denial of love. Now we got to get this thing right. What is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love.
Now you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with Interstellar? I know, it seems unrelated, but it's not. Just like the Tesseract scene in Interstellar. Basically, the more we allow each other to be our whole selves and find our people, we then feel comfortable enough in ourselves and our environments to pursue the things that make us truly happy. When people pursue the things that truly make them happy, or what they're naturally gifted at, whether that's art or being an astronaut, they all have an opportunity to discover new things because of the way that being happy and content with your environment and your heart gives you more power to explore new ways to help invent new technology or new anything, simply because you love that skill or that thing that makes you happy so much, including new paradigms using pop culture.
They're not beings. They're us.
Cooper, people couldn't build this.
No, not yet. One day, a civilization will go off past the 4 dimensions we know.
Quote, positive psychology helps to foster happiness and emotional wellness. It does this by helping people capitalize on their strengths, heighten their gratitude and awareness, connect to others, and develop the wisdom needed to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. That's why our environments are so crucial. We need connection more now than I think we've ever needed it, but not like this. Don't make it weird. The thing is, it's never going to be a straight line to that outcome, especially at a large scale. It's easier, but just as slow at the individual level, but it is definitely faster than the larger end of the scale. It would take years and years and years to see the effects of it down the line, but eventually, I personally think that we could get to a level of civilization that has transcended the current problems of today and would have created technology that could seriously surpass expectations that we know of right now and theoretically defy time and space. Eventually. I think that's what people intrinsically know to be true on some level subconsciously, which is why I personally think people get chills and cry when they watch Interstellar, but don't have the words to say it because not many people think past the presented meaning by the filmmakers or think past their current deck of cards life has given them. That's what I'm going to attempt to explain here now. With the previous video, I explained the darker side of the human experience that is simulated in Alien: fear of the unknown, misunderstanding yourself and life, and even losing control or autonomy over your life or your body. This one, on Interstellar, is meant to be the antithesis of that, and coincidentally the second part of that video, even if it does seem unrelated. Buckle up, it's probably going to be a long one.
Hold on to your butts.
Interstellar came out on November 5th, 2014.
Remember the 5th of November.
I keep thinking this came out around 2017 or 2018, but no. Evidently, it's already a 12-year-old movie. Damn! Old enough to think it's an adult now.
At least according to the Toronto Transit Commission.
Good for you.
But really, it's old enough now that most people have seen it or have at least heard of it. And just like Alien, it's actively claimed to be one of the best sci-fi films of all time, mostly because it blends science with emotion, using the scientific concepts created by Nobel laureate Kip Thorne. Since its release, it's become a huge topic of discussion in online spaces, especially for cinephiles, meaning people who love movies, to put it bluntly. But as far as this movie, what made it so special was the themes it was exploring in the film. Quote, Nolan observed that it was the film that people kept wanting to talk about, telling him what it meant to them and asking if it was ever going to be re-released. Those grand emotions and sentimental themes of love, family, and exploration that were a liability with some are now its most cherished qualities, unquote. I feel that it was that very mix of emotion and science that gets people talking and sometimes disagreeing with each other in regard to the story of the film. Some people are hardwired to see that the science behind it wasn't realistic enough, or the story had a paradox for those interested in the story itself. But to me, and probably other people out in the world as well, was blown away by what it was saying about love transcending time and space. Some would argue that love as a mechanism is not something that can be done, that it's not literally quantifiable, at least not in the traditional sense. We can quantify it, it just doesn't live in the parameters that are typically associated with actual measurements. It's something we feel, not necessarily something that we can actually use. Not like Cooper using it to navigate the Tesseract, which we'll get into later, but for now, here's a clip as a clue.
Magic is merely the mind's attempt to wrap itself around the impossible.
But as far as this movie goes, it's a fantastic way to show us how strong love can be. That's what I picked up on, and evidently many others have too. The idea is real, even if the math might not make sense. The movie was full of, quote, plot holes, as some people might put it, but that's not true. These were foreshadowing events. Let me explain. The wormhole led to the new galaxy in space, which contained a black hole, both of which were created by the, quote, they people mentioned in the film. Basically, they evolved so much that they knew how to use nearly everything as a tool, including time, gravity, and love, especially love. They created these situations because they knew that at some point in their history, they almost lost a major amount of humanity. They went back and set up a specific chain of events in order for the human race to survive, and thus they would also survive, which is why Cooper says,
"We're here to communicate with a three-dimensional world. We're the bridge." They didn't choose me, they chose her.
For what, Cooper?
To save the world. That's why I'm here.
In Interstellar, love isn't just emotional. It's treated as a guiding force, not necessarily something the audience has to believe in literally, but something the film uses to make all of this complexity feel personal. Emotions are tools and compasses, which is why Cooper was able to find the present-day version of the room in the Tesseract that contained his daughter Murph. His love guided him literally to the right room. They were just us from the future, as the movie says. They were trying to show Cooper how their fifth dimension worked in a way that he could understand. They built a 3D version of it, but it functioned like the fifth dimension they were from, using emotion/connection to navigate reality itself. Because everyone has emotions and is connected to specific people, they just chose the two people who they knew would be at the right place and the right time. Because they were connected through their love of each other, and they were both pursuing the things they loved at the same time as trying to find an answer to Earth's problems to save humanity, they were able to find the answer together even though they were separated. In a way, that's also possible for us if you use the movie to explore the idea on how that might be possible long-term in real life. So while the mechanics can feel overwhelming, the film isn't really asking you to solve physics. It's asking you to follow something much more human, much more grounded, something that you feel first on a physiological level and then experience emotionally. Your body responds to film on a physiological, emotional, and psychological level, as I mentioned before in the Alien Breakdown, which was part 1 of why these two movies are connected. These chills tell you when something is true, which is why I personally believe that frisson, the body's response to rewarding stimuli that causes goosebumps or shivers, is a compass component. Your emotions go through simulated experiences, and your body processes those emotions through frisson, crying, or any other emotion that the movie is meant to elicit. Quote, frisson is physically felt, tied to peak emotional experiences and the most meaningful moments during exposure to different stimuli, such as songs or speeches or art pieces. And amazingly, aesthetic chills seem to be an almost universal marker of peak emotional experiences across a wide range of cultures and continents. This universality is really rare. We can potentially use these chills as a way to study emotion in the body, as if we could reach out and touch meaning making. The field of embodied cognition, in addition to finding body-based correlates of emotional experience, illuminated many links between our physical and psychological experiences. This points to opportunities because if we can artificially induce frisson, perhaps we can also drive the downstream cognitive effects of frisson. These include pleasure, inspiration, openness to experience, relief in stress, increase in empathy, and experience of meaning, unquote. I personally believe it confirms something much bigger than what we can currently comprehend about the meaning of life. This movie touches on those same threads, and that is why people can't explain why they love this movie, even though they are confused about the ending's technical aspects on how this tesseract works that Cooper is inside of and is able to contact his daughter through. But one thing that you do understand is the feeling of universal love, or at least what love shouldn't be. We know that unconditional love is the goal. Even if you've never experienced it before, you have a slice of what it might feel like, and this movie shows it and allows you to experience it without having to experience the story literally yourself. It's a natural thing that we intrinsically understand before we even understand what emotions are on a logical level. Quote, babies display an understanding that people's actions are guided by intentions and are able to act on that understanding before they are 18 months old, including trying to comfort a parent. More advanced reasoning about other people's thoughts develops by around age 5 or 6, and research shows that parents who promote and model empathy raise more empathetic children, unquote. When your body does something, it's trying to communicate with your logical and emotional mind at the same time. You just have to be paying attention to what your mind, body, and emotions are trying to tell you. So when you feel chills during these moments, it's not just because the scene is emotional. It's because the film is aligning sound, story, and meaning in a way your body recognizes before your mind fully understands it, which is why your emotions, which are connected through your body and what it experiences, is triggered. Movies are exaggerated versions or situations that we would most likely never truly experience in real life the same way. But if the story hits certain emotional thresholds and touches on specific key emotions already within the story itself, the music just amplifies the emotions already being induced when structured correctly. You cried because of the organ, the slow ascension of the notes, and the way that the notes take one step back and 2 steps forward. The music is simulating the steps it took to ascend into space and transcend time and gravity in order to do something perceived as impossible, saving the world. Yet Cooper and Murph did it. Cooper did it when he had no other choice and to try and dock onto the space station to save themselves from being marooned in space. Murph did it because Cooper did it. Cooper relayed the much needed data to Murph, and she figured out how to save humanity. The sound of the ticking of the clock is a play on our sense of time in the music, putting the pressure of needing to hurry and get answers or solve the problem as soon as possible. The organ plays on our sense of something bigger than ourselves, since organs are typically associated with religion or God, and the piano for a sense of beauty and wonder. The notes ascending and descending at a rapid rate makes us feel that the situation could go either way, in conjunction with the logical side of our understanding that we indeed do not know how this situation in the movie will turn out, complete with technological sounds to connect technology to feeling and emotion. And when put together, it creates a specific experience. And another interesting thing is that just before Cooper says the line, "Analyze the Endurance's spin," you hear a faint train horn. You hear it during the entire scene, here and there, but that plays on the idea of inevitability, imminent death, and the force of will, the will that lives inside everyone, which is to live.
Cooper! There's no point using her fuel to
Analyze the Endurance's spin.
Which is why his next line hits so hard.
It's not possible.
No, it's necessary.
Because whether they tried to dock or not, they were going to die. And lastly, one more thing I wanted to point out is during the start of the spin, the breathing you hear sounds like a train starting up and starting to chug forward. The fate of humanity picking up once more because they risked it all. Now, whether that was an intentional choice, that's beyond me, but that's what I picked up on. When you have no other choice, your emotions are heightened in intense situations. And this movie allowed you to understand the cosmic implications of such a situation on an emotional level. When someone does something that asks them to do impossible things and they do it anyway, it reinforces a truth that people can do anything they want if they put their mind to it, especially if it's to help other people and not just themselves. But a better way to explain this visually is through the docking scene. I wanted to go back to this specific scene because it relates to what I mentioned before about the impossible when faced with no other choice. Dr. Mann is the version of us that refuses to listen to sound advice, thinking their way is the only way, and that only leads to devastation on all levels, including decimation, and on a global level can result in crimes against humanity. That's why it's called Crimes Against Humanity. He's a character that represents trying to control every aspect of life that there is because you are afraid of yourself and the world around you. He didn't want to attempt to kill Cooper or take over the Endurance, but he felt like he was forced to because he was alone. He was separated from himself because of having been distanced from his own humanity for so long. It's what happens when someone is unhappy for too long or feels like there is no purpose to life but to conquer or be conquered. When you start seeing others as obstacles to be removed from the equation or not to be collaborated with, that's when things start to fall apart, especially on a global scale. Dr. Mann tries to force the connection, lies, and fails because he isn't aligned with the truth. He ends up destroying the very thing he tried to save. Dr. Mann is also representative of what happens when that starts to affect other people, and not just himself, on an individual and large scale, considering how important the Endurance was to complete the mission to save the Earth/humanity, the emotional devastation that it can create.
Emotional damage!
I'd equate this type of character to people like Andrew Tate or anyone that fits that type of mindset, but not just in the context of misogyny on a large scale. On a smaller, more individual scale, I'd equate this person to the quote friend or quote colleague who is just trying to help or who's just telling the truth, making you feel like you shouldn't pursue something because they don't think it's worth it or they can't do it. What matters is that you think it's worth it. Don't let anyone tell you what you want because it's not up to them. It's up to you, especially if you decide to pursue it or not. This is where the film stops being about survival and starts being about trust. Trust in yourself, others, and in something you can't fully control. Truth doesn't require force. It requires alignment on an emotional, physical, and psychological level. You have to have the quote endurance to keep going in life, even if it's painful, in order to live the life that you so deserve. And you deserve to live a long, healthy life doing what you love. Now, this is where interpretation comes in because what the film suggests here can be taken a lot of different ways. Symbolically, the scene is calling people to find their center and dock onto something that lifts you up, because in doing so for yourself, you are showing other people how to do it too. The spinning and descent into the gravity of the planet is symbolic of how it feels in life sometimes. The slow descent into mediocrity and going with the motions and feeling like your life has no purpose because eventually your dreams die if you don't try and dock to them eventually. But if you take control of the ship that you're in, your body, your emotions, your mind, you can do anything. You really can, I promise you. We already have the tools we need to do that. The docking itself is you attaching yourself to your own life, your own interests, and pulling yourself out of the survival thought process that makes you think you have no control over anything, and that all you can do is just go to work, come home, be sad or numb, sleep, and repeat. It's not supposed to be that way. All I paid attention to was the negatives, the darkness of each rotation that you see during that scene on the Endurance and the ship they were on. You're going to have moments while you try and build the life you want, going from one side to the other, from darkness to light. And while you're searching, it'll feel like the G-forces the characters are experiencing once they start spinning. But once you find that thing, it'll feel like nothing is happening, and you'll wonder if it will work or not, or if you should have just given up. But something in you will know it's the only way to get what you want out of life. Just like how Cooper and Brand know that the only way to keep going is to dock onto the endurance or die trying. But that's what aligning to something means. You create the path to it, going after something because you love it. But that doesn't mean literally dying. So please be careful out there.
Don't die.
Great, thanks.
But once you find it, you finally latch onto it for good. That's how you build your life up again and get, quote, out of orbit from the life you used to live, moving upward and onward to bigger and better things, even though you don't know what's on the other side, aka Cooper accidentally flying straight into Gargantua's gravity pull right after. But just like Brand passing out, sometimes people give up and don't have anyone to help them wake up and help them see that they can do it too. And she also represents that sometimes you can't bring people with you on this discovery/healing journey, and you find that you just can't be around them simply because they aren't helpful and seem to slow you down. It's not meant to be in a mean way when I say that. It's just that it's simply a fact that depending on who you let be around you and in your environment, it will depend on your happiness and whether or not you feel supported in your efforts. You can't have someone in the co-pilot seat who is accidentally or intentionally pulling the levers in the wrong direction.
Pull the lever, Kronk. Wrong lever!
Huh?
Why do we even have that lever?
It's a much slower process than just snapping your fingers and getting exactly what you want instantly. It's a process of understanding yourself on a level that you never thought was needed, going through your life experiences and gathering what you can learn from those and following your heart to what makes you happy. For me, I instantly could tell what mine was. Movies. It's always been movies. Telling visual stories. I love writing, but I hope that one day, my book series I'm writing right now will eventually be adapted to film or TV. I knew it was movies because my heart hurt every time I thought I would have to give it up. I literally would cry thinking about how I would just never be able to attain that dream. All I saw was the obstacles, the gatekeeping, the networking, and connections that were required to even get in, and thought, not in this lifetime. But guess what? I didn't let those things stop me. That impossible task for me was getting myself in the industry and making movies myself. I thought that would never happen. But I personally believe, because I followed my heart and decided to pursue this anyway in the form of YouTube videos, with the intent on just sharing my passion in hopes that it might help other people too, I have a feeling that this will turn into or lead to something really amazing. Just like the film when Cooper is able to see Murph again, but this time in the hospital and on a ring in space years later. Eventually he was able to come back home, and he did the impossible. He saved humanity by having that connection with his daughter, and he came back home. But understanding boundaries is super important to what I'm breaking down here. It's important to ground yourself in reality, not the exaggerated experience on the screen. You still need to be realistic. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that just because you pursue your passion doesn't mean that you are chosen or in any way a savior to humanity. That's not what I'm saying. Remember that this is an exaggerated version of the human capacity for love and following your heart, and what that could truly do if we actually pursued these things. But you do need to have some form of a higher power as a starting point, or training wheels, as I call it, in your life, whether that be through humanism, stoicism, religion, or just spirituality, which is the way that I like to interpret things. Whatever form that comes in for you, they work together. Just believing that something will work out eventually is inevitable. If you change your behavior and how you react to situations, the outcome will be different. I call ideologies and theologies training wheels because it at least gives you a place to start that works for you. But the issue is that it can be constrained by who is teaching you and what their biases are and what they say goes a lot of the time. It's outsourcing your own feelings to someone else to tell you what is right or wrong to do in life. That's where, for me, it felt wrong. Organized religion or theologies only have the feeling but no proof. Whereas atheism, for example, provides the proof, but the feelings tend to sort of be left in the dust sometimes. But of course, this is just my personal interpretation. In spirituality, it's called grounding. You need to ground yourself with the reality that we live in and what constraints that we are bound by. Hence the science articles versus my way of thinking about the world and how I talk about it. I'm trying to show the human experience in a way that most people can understand, or at least I'm attempting to. I allowed myself to follow my intuition, allowed myself to feel my emotions, allowed myself to let go of expectations from family, friends, and past relationships, whether they were romantic or not. And then I finally allowed myself to choose myself and love myself, instead of wondering why I hated myself and my life and why everything was so difficult when it really didn't need to be. I had to get out of my own way.
So pick me. Choose me. love me.
Which is why this is a part 2 to the alien breakdown from before. Interstellar is the opposite side of the coin to Alien. Alien is the shadow aspect of life. If you let yourself be ruled by fear or the survival mindset, as a spiritual person myself, to me, it's a spiritual death, aka the death of the human spirit, to innovate, which are one and the same to me. To create new ways of living or create new art or just to create something new in general. If you're too busy surviving, all you can see is threat.
Run.
It's like that scene in Alien Romulus where they are stuck in the room with the facehuggers while they are thawing out and the room is just red. Everything in life is coated in a metaphorical red light.
My fingers. I don't feel my fingers.
But if you navigate through life looking for your passion, put yourself first in order to live a better life within reason, and always trying to figure out who you are to your core, and always working on improving yourself, you then in turn create a life worth living, and you are no longer subjected to that survival mindset as much anymore, and you get to live in a way that feels dangerous if you have only ever known scarcity.
I like to live dangerously.
It's the same thing you're told when a flight attendant tells you the safety instructions, and they say to pull down the mask onto yourself first, and then other people, if the plane is going down for an emergency landing, or the cabin has depressurized too quickly. You have to realize that you are worth the effort first, before you can truly make your mark or make a notable impact on the world if that's your goal. Whatever your goal, just make sure to take care of yourself in mind, body, and spirit, and everything else will be taken care of. Not magically, but you'll have a clearer mind on how to approach life and its complexities without even really needing to think about it deeply. Interstellar is the dream life, the life where you are doing what you love because you love it. You love life again and you see the beauty in it, not just the danger. It's the beauty of the journey, the discovery of remembering why you're here or why you think you're here. Whether or not any of this is literally true isn't really the point. What matters is how the film makes you feel and why it stays with you after it's over. I feel that there is a modicum of truth to the exaggeration of the simulated human experience of Interstellar. I personally think that those black holes and wormholes are interdimensional portals theoretically. If we haven't learned how to harness our emotions and find ways to come together in order to create new ways of living, to create technology so much more advanced than what we have now, we can't see how our emotions are the key if we can't use those emotions as navigating tools to enhance the human experience in ways we can't even foresee yet. How can we ever expect to see what is in a black hole if everything 3D falls apart or stops working inside it? I personally believe that black holes aren't just places in space that sucks everything in and spaghettifies it. It's just that we haven't learned how to navigate the unknown yet because we haven't mastered ourselves. That's why we can't see anything inside them, in my opinion. I just wonder if that is something we could test theories on somehow. So really, depending on the progress of any given place in the world, it shows how well we've mastered love on a larger scale. Empathy, on the other hand, in my opinion, shows how well we've connected to each other. It's a sign of how much we have regressed or progressed. Empathy is the path to love and power. If we are stuck in the past using old ideology or belief systems that are actually hindering it, it will show in our progress as a group. Same thing happens in the opposite direction. I believe this is something we could study as well, but that's just my theory on this particular story's simulation of the human experience. Stories, like I said, are simulations of the human experience in another world with different conditions. You can make them as fantastical or grounded as you'd like, but it is all based on the same thing, the human experience, because there is no experience outside of it that we know of personally. Everyone's experience is different, yet the same. It's like that scene at the end of A Knight's Tale, where Chaucer says,
"All human activity lies within the artist's scope."
I personally believe that this is why writers, artists, and all manner of creators feel like they are connected to something bigger when they create. Quote, "Artists exist in a world of constant observation, seeing beyond what is immediately visible, questioning reality rather than accepting it at face value. Where others see permanence, they see possibility. Where some find routine, they find reinvention. They break apart ideas, reconstruct meaning, and uncover hidden narratives in the everyday. They recognize beauty in imperfection, rhythm and chaos, chaos and poetry in the mundane. It is both a gift and a burden. The restless imagination never sleeps, always yearning to bring something new into existence, always seeing the world not as it is, but as it could be," unquote. The need to create is important enough that it is more than art. It's the need to invent, to create new things in general. That is how I believe humanity evolves. By allowing ourselves to pursue our passions, it creates opportunities to look at things in another perspective rather than only looking at rules and logic. Both are needed to enhance the human experience. It's using both the tool and the feeling together that guides humanity in a better direction on both an individual and collective level. Alien is a simulation of what happens when we fail to use our artist's mind, when we see the world only as a static, rigid place of survival and threat. The crew reacts, panics, and tries to contain something they don't understand. It's a world where fear, control, and even hate dictate every decision. Interstellar is a simulation of what happens when we succeed, when we, quote, question reality rather than accepting it at face value, unquote, and find the, quote, poetry in the mundane, unquote, like a wristwatch ticking in a bedroom, just like Interstellar. Even when the situation is just as dangerous, the characters move forward through connection, trust, and belief in something beyond immediate survival. That's why I see them as two sides of the same idea, one showing what happens when we're ruled by fear, and the other showing what happens when we move beyond it. These are connected through emotion, the human experience of feeling alive and navigating life with them. As I mentioned before, emotions are tools if used correctly. They are meant to be felt deeply so that we know what we love and what we don't, so that we can find out what our passion is and what we want out of life and pursue that. Not only for ourselves, but to show others it can be done too. And when other people do it at the same time, the world becomes a safer place to live and life becomes easier, not instantly, but over time. Creating a world that the future of our existence, I personally believe, depends on. The world and us as a people tend to eat ourselves and our environments when we don't prioritize balance within and outside of ourselves. So if your life is currently feeling like you are a character in the Nostromo, it is in fact possible on a scientific level to change that. It'll take hard work and patience and practice, but eventually you'll find yourself in a completely different world by the end of it. Just like Cooper finding himself back from space, but the world has changed. Nothing physically has actually changed, but your outlook on life has. But then, once you've adjusted your internal diagnostics and guided yourself to better ways of thinking and behaving, you can start to heal and see the world as a brighter, more wonderful place that is full of possibilities. If you'd like to check my sources, feel free to scan the QR code and read up on the subjects yourself. Transparency is key here at The Wild Den. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!